This regular meeting of the Aurora Board of Education is called to order. Please rise for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Ellison, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Here.
Mr. Zayas? Here. Mrs. Connor?
Here.
Mr. Acom? Here. Mr. Cebulski?
Here.
All right, this evening we'll begin with recognizing excellence. We have Exhibit A1, which is a resolution to recognize and congratulate Milka Begovic for excellence in classified service. May I have a motion?
Moved. Second.
Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes. Thank you. Ms. Goodwin, would you introduce them? Her? You want them to do them together?
First.
Hmm?
Let's do Milka and then, or do you have it together? Could we also?
Okay, then we will, we're going to go right to Exhibit A2, which is a resolution to recognize and congratulate Stacy Barnes for excellence in teaching this year. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes. All right, Ms. Goodwin.
Okay, good evening. Each year, staff members of the Aurora schools take time to nominate our fellow colleagues whom we notice and appreciate for their continued dedication and commitment to our learners, their families, and to the fellow colleagues here in the Aurora City Schools. This year, both the Excellence in Teaching and Excellence in a Classified Staff member spend the majority of their time at Miller Elementary, serving some of our youngest children in the district. When you hear the names Stacy Barnes and Milka Begovic, everyone knows these two amazing women continually give their heart and time to anyone in need. They are the first to lend a helping hand, the first to solve a problem, and the first to wipe away tears from a little one's eyes. Simply put, there isn't anyone else who loves the children and families of the district like Stacy and Milka. Let's start with Stacy. She is the first one to express excitement in a kid's achievement, regardless of how small. She communicates with families through many different platforms and makes everyone feel welcome. Her organizational skills come in handy when she spearheads district events, such as the Build-A-Bear Foundation fundraiser and the Kids Heart Health Challenge. She's teaching kids throughout the entire district how to have empathy and compassion for others. She has modeled year after year what a teacher should be and how much they should care. A new staff member shares that Stacy immediately welcomed her to the building this year with pure kindness and has been incredibly helpful when she has had many questions. Although this new staff member has only been in Aurora for 1 year, she shared it is evident that Stacy has made a huge impact over the many years that she's been teaching in the Aurora City Schools. She has amazing ideas, strong relationships with both her colleagues and her students, and she's always willing to lend a helping hand. Her commitment to our Greenman family is admirable and very much appreciated. Stacy has been an advocate for PE in the district program for many years. She's actively involved in her professional organization, both as a member and a committee chair. She works closely with local universities and has had many student teachers, which shows she is helping to give back to her profession and to develop future physical educators. She has created unique and meaningful program experiences for countless students, such as the 4th grade track meet and the kindergarten field days. There isn't anyone else who loves the kids and families of the district like Stacy Barnes. But with everything that was just shared about Stacy Barnes, there's a common thread woven into the work that Milka Begovic each day. Milka consistently goes above and beyond in her paraeducator position, and staff members constantly refer to her as Super Milka. Milka always greets fellow staff members and students with a warm smile, and she has an amazing energy, and it is the perfect match for her current student. You can truly see the love between the two of them. As a one-on-one paraeducator, there are many twists and turns that each day can bring. Her current student transferred to Aurora from another district in January. It was expected that this family was nervous about the transition, and she was craving a trusting relationship. We all get to enjoy watching the interaction between Milka and the student's mother at the end of every school day. Her mother always has a big smile on her face when Milka updates her on her daughter's day, along with her accomplishments. The smiles on everyone's faces shows how happy she is in Aurora, and a huge part of that is due to Milka. Not only has Milka built strong relationships with this family, but the bond between Milka and this wonderful child is noticed by all. Milka participates in this student's individual therapy sessions and then provides consistent modeling of those methods that were used in these sessions to help her students. She asks questions, she follows through, and then comes up with additional creative ideas on how else to support her students' goals. Milka also does anything that you asked of her. In fact, she constantly checks in with fellow staff and asks if there's anything with which she can assist. Milka is wonderful to all students, and she knows the names of so many of the students in our building. Milka is in Lori Kidwell's classroom throughout each day, and Mrs. Kidwell has a variety of parent volunteers. Our parent volunteers share that their children are always talking about Miss Milka and her student and how much they love both the child and, of course, Miss Milka. The power of inclusion works when loving staff members build relationships. They see strengths in every child, and they adopt a can-do attitude for anything that comes their way. Milka, thank you for everything. We all feel honored to be friends, colleagues, and educators with both Milka and Stacy every day. Thank you for your continued love, support, and dedication to our Greenman family.
That's okay.
I was worried about the syllable and I didn't get the last one. We often focus on our high school students, rightfully so, and all their achievements, but we know, and I know I speak on behalf of the board when I say that we know that it's so important that a firm foundation is built in the elementary years, and so we thank you for your service and for being here, and it speaks volumes to see all your fellow employees here, fellow staff members, so thank you all for coming from Miller and Craddock. All right, Exhibit A3. It's another resolution to recognize and congratulate Lisa Cuneo and Ellen Marks for excellence in service. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Aku?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Stobulski?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes. Mr. Hayes, yeah.
Stay there, it's all good. So, whatever you're most
No,
comfortable
bring 'em
with.
up, bring 'em
No,
up.
they need to come up.
We gotta get pictures.
I'm honored to be able to stand here before everyone and recognize two amazing educators, Lisa Cuneo and Ellen Marks. So thank you to Mrs. Mahalis and the rest of our board for allowing us to have this opportunity. I'm going to share some sentiments expressed by some of the staff members who nominated both Lisa and Ellen. Here's what they had to say. These teachers are amazing on their own account, but make an even more amazing team. They both work tirelessly to assist students with day-to-day homework and projects. Even more, they are often doing some of the same tasks as our special education interventionists, such as reading tests aloud to students who need accommodations and providing instruction and reteaching to many on a daily basis. While Ellen is assigned to online learning, particularly credit recovery with some of our most struggling learners, she does so much more beyond that task. Ellen provides support for students across subject areas and especially in science. She has historically helped students with physical science and biology, but these students turn to her when they are underclassmen to obtain her help with chemistry and physics. Even though her area of expertise is science, she will assist students with anything they need. Students rely on her for so much more than academics. She is a guide for them as they move through high school, helping them tackle obstacles along the way. I don't know what we're going to do without her next year. She has been a constant support for so many students. Lisa is like another parent to many of our kids. When parents turn to us for help with their child, they are thrilled to hear about the position of the Academic Resource Center and what Lisa does to help support our students. Parents and students rely on her daily support. So many parents have stated at graduation that they don't know what they would have done without Lisa in their lives and her daily support of their children. Lisa finds ways to reteach concepts when students don't grasp the information in their classes. She finds ways to motivate students to complete their work when they become behind. Even more, she provides a safe space for students to take a mental break when they just can't take any more stress. These breaks allow students to decompress and eventually return to their classrooms successfully. This keeps so many more students at school instead of them giving up and going home when daily stressors become too much. Ellen and Lisa take care of students' basic needs by providing food in their classrooms, since they know many students either don't have food at home or are in just too much of a hurry to eat. They provide a place where students feel comfortable and welcome, a place where they don't worry about failing. Their classrooms are a safe place to take academic and social risks to help students grow and prepare for their life after high school. These two teachers are simply rock stars and will be sorely missed next year. Congratulations to both Lisa and Ellen.
Thank you, ladies. We wish you the best in your retirement. All right, we had no one sign up to speak tonight, correct? So we will move on to the approval of minutes. We had 2 meetings in April, a special meeting on April 13th and a regular meeting on the 24th. And we were all present at both, so I'll take them together if that's okay. We have a motion for approval.
Move.
Second.
Are there any comments, edits, additions? All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zias?
Yes.
All right, minutes are approved. Next, we have the superintendent report and assistant superintendent.
I yielded my time so that we could recognize our excellence staff. Could we take a quick picture of them and then let them kind of sneak out?
Yes, that'd be good, yeah.
Okay, so ladies, if you don't mind that back corner, we're going to take a picture and then Paul's going to continue.
Pause for a second.
Nice those teachers came to support them.
Thank you.
Okay.
Go ahead?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for giving us a couple minutes for the Assistant Superintendent's report, now that we've recognized the staff. Mrs. Mahalis, you literally took the words out of my mouth when your comments about Miller. That's essentially what I was going to say today, and continue that theme of recognizing the staff that work with some of our earliest learners. Obviously, right now, end of May, we all have these recognitions and awards and graduation. We all attended last week, which was wonderful, and 3 straight years of beautiful weather. Let's hope that continues. But we don't get there without starting with our pre-K, K building, Miller. Mrs. Goodman and her team. And so recently, they've received more recognition for our pre-K program. And we've had rave reviews on that program, and we have families that actually move here, not just for the Aurora schools, but starting with the pre-K program. We continue to have higher numbers and, student needs that we take care of, nurture from the, ages 2, 3, just essentially they're still babies, and that takes a lot of TLC. So I wanted to take the time tonight to actually allow Mr. Maglianico some time in his role as Director of Special Services. He worked closely with Mrs. Goodman, Mrs. Barker, and their pre-K team, and wanted to have them talk about our preschool and recently another 5-star rating that they received from the state of Ohio. So I'm going to get out of the way here and cede the floor to Mr. Maglianico. So it's all yours, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Milsitich. Thank you to the Board of Education for allowing me to speak a little bit about our preschool program and Step Up to Quality. So on May 5th of 2023, I received an email that said we received our focus review. So they did it behind the scenes. It was a review of some documents that we submitted over the school year. So just as a refresher, Step Up to Quality is a 5-star tiered quality rating and improvement system for public and private preschools. The system was developed to recognize and promote preschool programs that meet quality standards which have been established by the Ohio Department of Education and the Ohio Department of Job and Family Services. The review process consists of either a full on-site review or a focus review. This year we had our focus review, which was completed through a review of digital documents, and this focus review targeted 7 different rules. So the first rule, which looks like the easiest rule, was starting out with a 5-star rating. We started out with that 5-star rating because we went through an on-site review in 2021, and the on-site review is truly a rigorous process. It lasts about 6 to 7 hours, where somebody from the state comes in and they observe our preschool classrooms, they interview our staff, they review our preschool policies and procedures, and analyze our student records. And the on-site review targets 5 specific domains and 137 various rules of compliance. So to receive a 5-star rating for a preschool program is really impressive. So it looks like the easiest place or the easiest rule to meet, but it's probably one of the most difficult rules. The second area that the focus review targets is the educational level of the administrators for the preschool classroom. Step Up to Quality sets the standard that administrators overseeing a preschool program have an associate's degree as a minimum. So, of course, we exceed this rule because our administrators hold a master's degree in educational leadership through the Ohio Department of Education. The third rule that they focus on is the professional development required courses. And Step Up to Quality sets the standard that all educators working in a preschool program complete 2 required quality and child development courses through the Ohio Department of Education. These courses include Ohio's Approach to Quality, which is a 2-hour course, and Ohio's Overview of Child Development, which is a 3-hour course. And all of our preschool staff members complete these courses, as well as any new staff members complete them as soon as they are hired. The fourth rule focuses on minimal instructional time. It sets the standard that each preschool class has at least 1 lead teacher who meets the minimal instructional time and is not shared by more than 2 regularly assigned lead teachers, co-lead teachers, or assistant teachers. And I'm still trying to figure out what this means, but what I will tell you is that we met this rule, we meet this standard due to the fact that we have certified preschool teachers through the Ohio Department of Education. They are aligned to each of our preschool classrooms, and they provide high quality instruction throughout the entire preschool session. The fifth rule is the professional development certificate, and all of our preschool staff members have a current and updated Step Up to Quality Professional Development Certificate. These certificates are based on each individual staff member completing 20 hours of approved professional development. It needs to be approved by Step Up to Quality, and that is 20 hours over 2 years, so 10 hours per year. We work closely with our State Support Team 8 to ensure that our staff members have access to this professional development, and we track the hours through the Ohio Child Care Resource and Referral Association portal. So there's many systems that we work with for Step Up to Quality. The sixth area that was targeted is ensuring that all of our staff members have a profile with the Ohio Professional Registry, which we do make sure that they are registered with the Ohio Professional Registry. And this system actually captures data on our staff members, and that data focuses on their employment status, their professional development hours, levels of education, and any Ohio Department of Education certifications that they hold. And then the final area that was looked at is the educational level of our lead teachers. And again, Step Up to Quality sets the standard that 50% of preschool lead teachers need to have an associate's degree in an approved related field. We exceed this standard because all of our preschool teachers have a bachelor's degree at a minimum, as well as an Ohio education teaching license to teach preschool students. And in addition, all of our preschool teachers have dual certificates to teach both special education and general education classrooms. So based on the analysis of all of this information that was reviewed through the focus review, we're happy to report that the Aurora Preschool continues to be acknowledged as a 5-star rated preschool program. I'd like to thank the Board of Education, Mr. Roberto and Dr. Milsitich, for their ongoing support of our preschool program, and Maria Goodman and her staff for the high quality education that they provide to our preschool students. So that ends my report, and thank you. Do you guys have any questions?
I have a question. How many classes do we have of preschool? Just,
Sure, we have, so 7 classrooms, 7 sessions,
wow. Oh,
and
okay.
it's interesting. We have a capacity to educate 112 preschool students. Last count was 105, and we have 7 evaluations that are happening right now, which will put us right at 112. So we are at capacity by the end of the year, which is ultimately our goal, is to fill those classrooms up.
And what's the ratio of students with special needs to a typical education peers? What?
Sure, so under our preschool, we run an 8 and 8 model, so we can have up to 8 students with disabilities in our classroom and 8 students who are called role models. Mm-hmm. So, and the law says that we have to have at least the same amount of number of role models as we do special education students in our preschool classrooms.
Interesting. Okay.
I have a question. I may have missed it early in your presentation. This is done by the state?
Yes,
Do they also evaluate like curriculum assessment and instructional programs?
yes, they do. So those five specific domains
Yeah.
include learning and development, which our curriculum and assessment is built into that. It has to be research-based. So they come in and do an analysis of what curriculum we're using, and they also look at our teachers' lesson plans to make sure those lesson plans are aligned to that curriculum and that our teachers are using the assessment information to drive those lesson plans.
So
it's
there's
pretty intense.
there's a lot of details in those scores. This is rather cumbersome, and to be a 5-star rating is rather significant.
So when I came here, Lauren and I and Maria worked together on setting up a system for when they do their review. And we created a binder, it's probably a 6-inch binder that is tabbed, which each of the areas, and it contains our forms in it that we keep. As we update them, we just replace the forms. What I found out in my previous position in the previous school district was, if you have that information and it's organized in a way that the evaluator can come in and easily find it, it helps you in that review process. You look organized, you have all of your information in order so that they can pull it, check off that you have everything in place, and then it helps with that rating.
Thank you. Great job.
This
Great,
is
thank
really
you.
interesting to me because I would say 20 years ago and more maybe, it was believed in this school district and probably in all school districts that children with special needs and children who were gifted should be separated from the general population. And there were members on the board who aren't here now who believed that. And you know, it was, people were starting to see the wisdom of differentiating the curriculum, and I know I'm not telling you all anything you don't know, but as a layperson, I remember just common sense told me how important that was for these children to be together, for the role models and for those with special needs. And so it's so gratifying to see that now we're doing that in pre-K.
I absolutely agree, absolutely agree. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay. Is that it, Dr. Milsitich? You done?
Yes, do you have any other questions for me? That's it.
No. Well, Mr. Volleson, you're up. Yours is not going to be nearly as interesting. But
I'm sure not.
we promise to listen.
I have two resolutions for your consideration this evening. First is the financial report for the month of April. And in April, our expenditures exceeded revenues by about $262,000, decreasing our general fund cash balance about $19.6 million. Revenues were pretty much as we expected, and expenditures were about 4% less than projected. On the revenue side, a couple of things to talk about. We received a balance of our first half 2022 real estate property tax receipts from Summit County, almost $17,000 there, and another $37,000 for the public utility tangible personal property. So with that, we receive all of our real estate taxes for fiscal year '23. In total, we receive a little over $31 million in those taxes, which is about a 1.8% increase over last year, and really about 1.2%, 380,000 greater than what we originally projected. Also, through the state, we received our property tax allocation from the Portage County, about $1.48 million for the rollback reimbursement and another $168,000 for the homestead exemption. Summit counties will come in May. And then also, from the city of Aurora, we received our shared income tax on abated properties. So this year we received $175,682, which is an increase of nearly $40,000 from last year, where we received $139,832. So overall, for the fiscal year, revenues are about $584,000 greater than projected, and expenditures about $15,000 greater. So we have a favorable variance of about $569,000 through 10 months of the fiscal year.
All right, Exhibit D1 is a resolution to approve financial statements and reports. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
Any comments or questions for Mr. Volleson? All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
All right, resolution is approved.
Then the second resolution is then and now statement actually for two separate purchase orders. One is to Ports Petroleum, it's for diesel fuel purchase, and the other is Gable Elevator and Lift, and they do repairs on the lifts that we have, mainly at Craddock for some of the handicapped students. So both of these, we received a bill before the purchase order was put in place, so we needed then and now approved so that we could pay it.
Okay. Exhibit D2, resolution to approve a then and now statement. May I have a motion? Chair seconds. Any comments or questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Resolution is approved.
Okay, that concludes
Anything
my
else?
report.
Okay, thank you. Under new business, we have a resolution to accept gifts and contributions. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
I'll read through these. Munn LLC donated $500 to the high school athletic department for baseball. Arlene Morganroth donated $200 to the high school athletic department for boys soccer. And Margie Grabnick donated a trombone worth $450 to Layton. Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Zias?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
Yes.
All right, I will take the personnel issues all together. We have 13 of them. And I know that a few of you are here tonight, so after we get a motion in a second, I'll ask Mr. Roberto to introduce you.
Sure.
All right, Exhibit E1B1 is a resolution to accept a resignation. Exhibit E1B2 is a resolution to employ part-time support staff. Exhibit E1B3 is a resolution to employ support staff substitutes for next school year. Exhibit E1B4 is a resolution to award teachers a one-year limited contract. Exhibit E1B5 is a resolution to award supplemental and extended time contracts to district personnel. Exhibit E1B6 is a resolution to award summer supplemental contracts. Exhibit E1B7 is a resolution to award a supplemental and extended time contract. Exhibit E1B8 is a resolution to award supplemental pupil activity contracts to non-district personnel. Exhibit E1B9 is a resolution to award an administrator contract. Exhibit E1B10 is a resolution to employ support staff substitute one person for this school year. Exhibit E1B11 is a resolution to approve the introductory appointment of support staff. Exhibit E1B12 is a resolution to employ support staff. And Exhibit E1B13 is a resolution to employ licensed substitute teachers, one teacher for this, for this school year. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
Are there any comments or questions before we meet a few of these? All right, Mr. Volleson, call the roll then.
Mr. Zias?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
Yes.
Okay, great. So if we could just take a minute so that we not only introduce, but folks, if you can, when you're introduced, come up and get congratulated by the board. We're going to start with Cody Calhoun. Cody is the interventionist at Harmon starting for next year, and he's going to be also coaching basketball this year. So Cody, make the rounds and shake hands first.
Congratulations. Thanks for coming. You just stay standing.
Yeah, and then followed by Tyler Best. Tyler's our psychologist at our high school, and he is also a community member, so it's nice having him in the district. And Kara's not here. She's got a little one at home. I mean like newborn. And so she actually went through the interviews like a week after the baby was born. But we do have Victor Torres here. So Victor is going to be at the high school now, moving from the special ed department to our new position as assistant principal and 612 special education director. We're very excited to have Victor on board as an administrator.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's everybody. And I think that's everybody. So thank you to those folks who came this evening.
Thank you for coming, so we could put a name to a face. All right. Moving on, we have Exhibit E1C, which is a resolution to approve an out-of-state and overnight field trip for band camp. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
Any comments or questions?
Is this the typical trip?
I'm guessing.
Yes, now that we're past the COVID whole thing, we can have this. This is actually the second year now, yeah, that we're back at this original transfer PA.
All right. Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes. Trip is approved. Exhibit E1D is a resolution to approve a revised emergency management and safety plan as discussed last month. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
Are there any comments or questions about it? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Exhibit E1E is a resolution to approve a new policy regarding dyslexia intervention and supports. As discussed last month, and I think more than once we've talked about this. May I have a motion for approval? Are there any comments or questions? Congratulations on everything you did to get what you've gotten done.
A lot of hard work by the team, but we feel good about what's in place for next year.
Good. All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Exhibit E1F is a resolution to approve 2 overnight trips. One is for cheerleading camp to Ohio Northern University in July, and one is for basketball team camp to Findlay University in June. May I have a motion for approval?
Move.
Second.
Any comments or questions?
These are the typical trips as well.
Yes. Yeah, what we did is Paul got these all together all at once so that you'll have one kind of approval party, and rather than having them scattered throughout the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
And Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Exhibit E1G is a resolution to approve 2 more trips. One is for baseball to Myrtle Beach next March, and one is for softball. They don't know where they're going yet, but they're going in March of next year. May I have a motion for approval?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Looks like they have it narrowed down to 3, the girls. Choice of 3, right?
Yes.
All right.
They're using the same, they plan to use the same
Company?
structure, company.
I'm going to guess, Paul, that's same company?
Yeah.
The whole airline industry, if we go on strike, a lot of these travel places won't take commitments as far out, because that place could change. So it's, again, what we're doing, we do the same thing here. We kind of want to get these approvals early because of the contracts that need to sign, the contracts that we described. So, for those that are making airline travel to the summer, nervous with how it's going to straight and stuff like that. That was what Mr. Akins referring to was this year's KSA, which was giving us a chance
Yeah.
outside of the program.
Yeah.
Several companies that we discussed them. Softball has an option of, and then so south, you get past the time at that time of year, you're not snow. Everything's good. It's like a couple of places games and stuff.
Okay? All right, Mr.
I already called that.
Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
All right, those trips are approved. Exhibit E1H is a resolution to approve 2 more trips. This says boys soccer team retreat, but we don't know where they're going. Is that one of the to be announced? Or am I missing something there? Oh, where is that? Oh, that's in Cincinnati? Okay,
They go every year.
okay. And then the tennis team is going to Naples, Florida next March. May I have a motion for approval?
Move.
Any comments or questions?
The tennis team is actually new. They had not
That's
gone
in
in
one.
prior sessions, but I think the softball and baseball was so positive that I think they looked into it. Paul, any other things to add to that?
Well, the tennis is new, but what they're gonna try to do is go to the Naples area and
Did I get a motion?
Yes.
Okay, would you call the roll, please?
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
All right, those trips are approved. Exhibit E1I, is that an I? Yeah. A resolution to approve an overnight trip for volleyball to Cedar Point in July. May I have a motion for approval?
Move.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Is this new?
We haven't gone to Cedar Point prior, but you've done things in the summer with volleyball, correct? Yeah. That's how they get them there.
All right, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Trip is approved. Exhibit E1J is a resolution to authorize the execution and delivery of a master electric energy sales agreement between the district and Power for Schools endorsed electric supplier, NG Resources LLC. May I have a motion for approval?
Move.
Chair seconds. Any comments or questions? Can you just sum this up for us?
Yeah, Bill, would you mind talking about, this is our regular provider, but
Sure. This is, our electricity, we've been with Power for Schools through Ohio Schools Council, and it's a 5-year contract, so we're just coming off a previous 5-year contract with them. And actually, I think this is the third renewal we've done, so this covers all of our electric bills, or the vast majority of our electric usage runs through this contract through the Ohio Schools Council, who negotiates it on behalf of all the member districts.
And it protects us from fluctuations
Right.
in rates.
Yes, yes, and that's one of the main reasons why we've been with this over the course of time. Kind of locks us in at a decent
Yeah.
rate.
Any other questions? All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Exhibit E1K is a resolution to approve the purchase of HP network servers. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Mr. Burns?
yes, so let me explain this. These are two big purchases, but they're purchases that happen about once every decade or so. It's just our servers, they have basically a 10-year lifespan. Ours are actually pushing more like 11 or 12, and it's to that point. We have this budgeted within our 5-year forecast for these, but because it's over $25,000, we need to have board approval for this.
These are the network servers that serve all the files, email, and,
So I don't know all the technical things behind it, and I can get you those answers, but I will say this is actually a reduced amount because we're using so much through the web in that sense, and through Google and Drive, and so as a result, we're not purchasing nearly as much as we had to in the past. But yes, to answer your question, it does all those things. It'd be essential to have in order to function.
Any other questions? All right, Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Acom?
yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Cebulski?
Yes.
Mr. Zayas?
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Exhibit E1L is a resolution to approve purchase of network equipment. May I have a motion? We'll do that. Chair
Second.
seconds. All right.
So this is repairs to our auditorium. So the auditorium is, seen
No,
as,
we're the network.
oh, I'm
equipment.
sorry.
The network
The network,
equipment.
Yeah, L. Looks like, that's it.
okay. Oh, I
They
already
do
talked
look
about
similar.
that.
Might have addressed.
Yeah,
it.
so this is the other part of that, to upgrade. I apologize, I put those together. This is the other part of the purchase. It's $25,000 or over in order to make sure that our servers are functioning with all the extra equipment to make that happen. Sorry.
Yeah, and I also believe we'll be reimbursed roughly 20-some% through E-rate. So we'll pay for it, and then through E-rate, we'll receive monies back. So this is all bid through the E-rate program for network connectivity. Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
Yes.
Mr. Zias?
Yes.
All right, resolution is approved. Exhibit E1M is a resolution to approve contract for Aurora High School stage repairs. May I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so this
Yeah.
is where we come in with the stage. So our stage is, I think 1997 was when it originally was put in. It's the third expansion to the high school, the third edition from there. And we've maintained every year, we have somebody come in and update some of those things. But in this most recent update, in fact, the last 2 years, they've been telling us we need to do some repairs. So these repairs are kind of essential in order to make that safe and functional. It's safe right now, but we want to keep it that way. This is mainly talking about the fire curtains. There's certain attachments, the chains and the lift lines that are loaded to that, as well as the mechanisms, so that a fire curtain, which is pretty heavy, lowers slowly when it's activated rather than just falling down. So there's a weight counterbalance that's part of that. Those are need repaired, as well as rope locks and proper signage that goes along with that. So the rope locks are set up so that no one can kind of just go in there and mess around with all the equipment in the curtains, as well as the fire curtains themselves. So it's some essential repairs that we need to make, and we have budgeted accordingly.
All right, any questions? Mr. Volleson, please call the roll.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mrs. Mahalis?
Yes.
Mr. Akam?
Yes.
Mr. Zias?
Yes.
Mr. Sobolski?
Yes.
Resolution is approved. Then we have exhibit, what is that? E2A, which is a discussion item. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, so if you recall, we have had a couple groups come in and talk a little bit about the idea of adding sports to the district, and the idea of going from club status to sports status. So we didn't have a policy in place. So this is we researched a couple of different other districts, and in particular, this one really mirrors Kenston's. We maybe tweaked it a little bit, but we thought they did a nice job of putting this together, and so we're proposing that this be a policy that we put in place, and you can kind of read through there and see that the idea is that the club will be established for 3 years. There will be things like a budget and inventory and all the things, so that we know kind of what we're getting into, and we're hoping to then be able to, if it does make the jump from a club to a sport after that time, it'll be able to be sustained and continue on as a sport going forward. So this is a policy that aligns us so that when that time comes, we can point folks to that, and the board has that to work off of.
Okay. So we will look at that this month and call Mr. Roberto if you have questions about it. Any board items? I would just like to publicly commend Tony Taylor in my case, and I know you had a lot of people working with you to make last week come off like it did. It was just beautiful. I thought baccalaureate was lovely, and the graduation ceremony was fabulous. So thank you. And I'll email Tony, but you all did a great job. All right, that's it then. Take a motion for adjournment.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Meeting is adjourned.